Hey, everybody. Remember, if you're a fan of the Tennessee Volunteers or just sports in general, please like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all support's greatly appreciated. Now, let's get to the video. Hey, guys. How's it going? If you're a Tennessee fan, probably pretty miserable. If you're a fan of another fan base that's a rival or just tuning into this video for whatever reason, then you should probably enjoy this. Today is not a good day. Our baseball team gets walked off by a grand slam against Vanderbilt. We get swept in that series, a very competitive series. And then today, in our Elite Eight matchup against Michigan for our first ever Final Four, we just get absolutely dog walked. In fact, the game is still going right now. 71-45, 72-45. So, 25 plus point victory. We'll see what the last 10 minutes hold, if we can make it look a little bit more competitive. But if the first, 30 minutes of the game is to indicate anything, it's just that we're nowhere near good enough to compete with Michigan today. What I wanted to spend this video doing was looking back on the season and looking ahead. But before we even do that, I do want to pause and I want to say thank you, Tennessee men's basketball team. Thank you, Jacoby Gillespie, Nate Mint, Amari Evans, Jalen Carey, Felix Opara, JP Estrella, Ethan Berg. The list goes on. And the reason why I say thank you is myself, like my friends and many other people that I knew, we did not expect us to reach an Elite Eight. Frankly, I didn't expect us to reach the second weekend of the tournament, and here we are. This team has been resilient, and one thing you can always count on with a Rick Barnes team is it's going to be coached to be resilient. This team has had very high highs and very low lows, and it's unfortunate that the season is going to end on a very low low. A valley, if you will, because there has been so much positivity that has happened. This team has grown before our very eyes. Hometown kid, Jacoby Gillespie, our star player. The last 2 years, people talked very highly of Dalton Connect, and rightfully so, right? Our closest Elite Eight loss was with him. Probably would have won had we not went up against that animal Zach Edey, who was just unstoppable. Chaz Lanier last year. Two really star transfers that came to Tennessee and gave them an offensive jolt. This year, Jacoby Gillespie, a guy who grew up rooting for the Vols, who grew up in my hometown of Greenville, Tennessee, who bounced around to a few places, and came to the University of Tennessee on a discount. And if we did not have Jacoby Gillespie this year, this team would not be in the tournament. This team, I don't even want to know what this team would be, but that guy has done so much for us that, it makes me emotional even thinking about it. So Jacoby Gillespie, thank you. And then also the other big name is Nate Mint. A guy that in that Duke exhibition, we were all super excited to see this dynamic 5-star player, one of the top 5 players in the entire country, one of the first times in recent memory that Rick Barnes has gotten one of those star players. And then candidly, honestly, for the first 2 months of the season, just struggled, was trying to find himself, his voice, his shot. And I remember after that Arkansas game making a video where I said he's a bust. He's not going to be to this team what we needed him to be. And funnily enough, I remember Arkansas fans getting in that chat and saying, "Hold your horses. This guy's good, but he's just got to grow." And that's exactly what happened over the next 6 weeks. Nate and Mint led us to so many victories. The Alabama game at Alabama is one that comes to mind, where without Nate, again, we're nowhere near the team that we are today. It's unfortunate that against Alabama at the end of the season, by no means do I think it was malicious that he got his knee and his ankle twisted up. You know, I don't know if a full healthy Nate Emmett makes much of a difference today, but you know, it is something that we could wonder about. But for all intents and purposes, Nate Emmett was an absolute game changer, and as advertised, and will be a lottery pick in the NBA. He is going to be on an NBA team next year, and as he continues to grow, watch out. This dude's going to be a real deal. And then the rest of the supporting cast, you know, specifically Akpara, someone who's a senior, just a presence on the inside that, again, won us a lot of games. JP Estrella struggling with injuries, but again, so impactful. Jalen Carey, who over the course of this tournament, towards the end of the season, just an absolute bully on the inside. And then we have a bunch of young guys like Amari Evans and Dwayne Brown to look forward to if we can retain them, making an more of an impact next year as well. So again, thank you, Tennessee basketball team, for exceeding expectations. It does suck to get your asses whooped like this again, the second year in a row, but let's take a moment and appreciate. Not many of us expected us to make an Elite Eight, you know. So looking forward, you know, what do I expect to happen? You know, I think Rick Barnes has 1, maybe 2 years left in the tank. I would love to go and say, oh, I really hope, you know, the offensive scheme changes, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to happen, guys. The style of ball that we play today is very much defense first. It's defensive emphasis first, right? You know, so when you have limited scoring options, but you play good defense, I mean, yes, you can win games, but I think the reality of Rick Barnes' system, and I love Rick Barnes', I do think that we've mostly peaked with Rick Barnes. You know, maybe, just maybe, we get a couple of high-powered scoring options next year. But, you know, the thing about these Tennessee teams is so often they stumble because we do only have 1 or maybe 2 options. The best scoring options, the best teams that you ever encounter have 3 or 4 options that can score at will. And that's what you're watching with Michigan right now as they run us out of the gym. Every person on that floor can score. The center, the forwards, the guards, they're all athletic and they're all huge. And I hope as we enter into this next year and time continues to tick down for Rick in this role, and I'm not going to rush him out. I'm so thankful for what Rick Barnes has done. I'd love for him to take a flyer and change up a little bit how he approaches his scheme and his game planning. But, you know, I'm 32 years old and I'm set in my ways. I can only imagine a 74, 75-year-old man like Rick Barnes. There's probably not going to be much of a change there. So we'll see. So next year, as far as I'm aware, we do not have a Nate Emmett style guy that's lurking that's going to be a top 5 player. So hopefully what we do is we take that NIL, we go out, we get some volume shooters, some efficient shooters. We hope our freshmen continue to grow. We hopefully retain Jalen Carey for another year. So then your big minutes probably going to be JP Estrella and Jalen Carey at your forwards. And those are 2 tough dudes. And hopefully JP Estrella continues to heal and get better and improve. And then you've got Amari Evans and you've got maybe Troy Henderson. We'll see. So you'll have if we can retain them, a decent amount of players back, but we have to have shooters. Gillespie leaving, I love Bishop Boswell, but he is not a scoring guard. He is a defensive guard. So we've got to have some guys that can come in and score some some buckets. So the transfer portal window is going to be interesting. It's going to dictate a lot about what our year looks like next year. So we'll see. And then final thing, and this is petty, but I want to call this out. Scrolling Twitter, I'm not going to use any names because they dwarf the platform I'm on. Kudos to them. But I saw these talking heads in the apparatus in the same atmosphere as UT Athletics, saying essentially that part of the reason Tennessee struggled so much today was due to a lack of commitment from the fans and coming up to Chicago. I have never in all of my life heard a more asinine thing. Okay. That gym could have been 100% Tennessee orange, and Michigan is still going to run you out of it. Why? They're more physical, they're more gifted, they're more efficient, and they're better coached. Okay. They were the better team. It's not even a comparison. I saw people complaining the refs. Yes, it was a ref show at the very beginning. I think at one time, 10 minutes in there, it was 6 and 6 team fouls, both teams. But guess what? Michigan kept going to the basket. Tennessee stopped, and Tennessee kept drawing fouls. So again, guys, there are some of these entities, who speak about college athletics, who speak about Tennessee, that try to come up with any narrative as to why you should not be mad as a fan for these types of performances, that you should be happy and that you're lucky. Let me get this right. While I'm thankful for this team, and I do think they exceeded expectations, the fact they made it this far showed me that they had the ability. And then to go out and lose by 20, 25 plus, in my books, is absolutely unacceptable. And you trying to tell us that it's because we didn't travel as a fan base is the most asinine thing I've ever heard. So please, God, if you hear someone, a talking head, trying to make it sound like you, the fan, is the problem why this team struggles, unfollow, move on from them. They don't know the first thing about athletics. But I don't want to end on a negative note. I do want to reaffirm again, thank you for everything. 25-26 Tennessee men's basketball. You did enough to make me renew my season tickets for the upcoming year. So we'll be back at it again next year, doing similar coverage that we did this year, and thank you for the journey over the course of the last few months covering the basketballs. We're slowly growing the community, but I'm appreciative to each and every one of you. Remember, go Vols. Thanks again for stopping in today. And remember, if you like this content, I can't ask enough. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Any and all support's greatly appreciated. And as always, go Vols.